That brings us to our text for today. Thomas wasn't there. We don't know why. He might have been wandering around the city in sort of a grief-stricken daze. He might have been hiding someplace else. He may have reasoned, as a logical kind of guy he was, that, well, it's time to move on. And maybe he was trying to get his life back together. Or maybe it was as simple as he had been there in the upper room with them, and then he had needed to leave to run some kind of an errand to get food. We don't know why he wasn't there. But the next time the disciples saw him, they told him, "We have seen the Lord." Thomas's reaction was that he said, "Unless I see the nail marks on his hands, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe it." Was this an expression of disbelief, confusion, disappointment that he hadn't been there with the others, anger that Jesus had not included him? We don't know. And it's very easy looking back on it from our perspective to say, how could you not believe? It was so clear. But when you think about the resurrection, that's a pretty amazing thing. The doubts that people have about it are normal, logical. We are confronted with what author Madeline L'Engle called the glorious impossible. The incarnation, the resurrection, the salvation message is something that we could not have imagined on our own. And so, in one sense, it defies belief. It is beyond imagining. And perhaps Thomas found that hope hurts. It's risky to have believed. He had believed in Jesus. He had been willing to go up to Jerusalem to die with him. And now Jesus was dead. And what was he going to believe in now? These words of Thomas, "Unless I see the nail marks, unless I place my hands in his side, I will not believe," have come to define him as doubting Thomas. A week later, the disciples were together, still behind locked doors. They were in the same room where Jesus had broken bread with them, washed their feet, promised them that he would send a comforter, had announced that he was the way. Jesus appeared again. He greets them all, "Peace be with you." And then he turns to Thomas and he says, "Put your fingers here. See my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side." Pastor told me in Bible study Wednesday night that the Greek word there for put is thrust. Jesus is saying, don't be shy. Put your hand in my side. Touch me. Jesus knew Thomas's heart. He knew what Thomas needed, and he met him where he was. There's no hint of condemnation in his words, no judgment, no anger. And in that split second, Thomas saw Jesus' hands. The hands that had cleansed a leper, blessed children, lifted Jairus' daughter from her deathbed, broke bread and divided fish to feed 5,000 people, straightened the back of the crippled woman, restored sight to blind eyes and hearing to deaf ears, who washed the disciples' feet, that passed bread and wine in the new covenant. Thomas saw the scars that said to him, "This is the Jesus who suffered and died on the cross. He's real. This is his body, raised from the dead." It was a physical resurrection. Just as Jesus had foretold, he had kept his promises. And if Jesus kept that promise, that he would be crucified and dead and buried and rise again in 3 days, then all the other promises of Jesus are true as well. In those nail-scarred hands, Thomas saw that salvation comes at a price. His scars showed the presence of a miracle, the evidence of healing. And when Thomas sees those nail-scarred hands, hears him say, "Stop doubting and believe,"